My name is James DeSimone. I'm an attorney with the law office of V. James DeSimone Law, and we represent the Haywood family in a case against the County of Riverside. Michael Haywood was an employee of the County of Riverside. With me today are his wife, Elizabeth Haywood, and one of his 4 children, Dustin Haywood. And California employers have an obligation to do everything reasonably necessary to provide for the health, the safety, and for the lives of their employees. That's the law under California's labor code. California employers are also obligated when an employee with a disability or whose wife has a disabling condition, they are obligated to provide reasonable accommodations when requested, unless it constitutes an undue hardship. And again, that is the law. It's the law under California's Fair Employment and Housing Act. And we are here today because the County of Riverside did not do everything reasonably necessary to protect the lives of its employees. It did not do everything reasonably necessary to protect the life of Michael Haywood. And when Michael Haywood, during the December surge in December 2020, requested his employer, the County of Riverside, to provide reasonable accommodations to let him work at home as he showed that he could. If he needed to come into work, to stagger his schedule so that he wouldn't be working in the same office as other people who were unmasked. And to require the individuals who are at work to wear masks when they're in common areas. He spoke to his supervisors, he made those requests, he communicated that he felt that he was uniquely vulnerable to the ravages of COVID, that he would risk death or serious illness because he had diabetes, he was a cancer survivor, and he had hypertension. He was a long-term employee. He was a good employee. And instead of providing those reasonable accommodations, a 61-year-old man, a man with his life in front of him, instead of providing those reasonable accommodations, the county denied it. Michael was forced to work. He's dedicated to his job. He listened to his supervisors. He worked in the same vicinity as individuals who were unmasked, and he caught COVID while at work. December 17th, he was out of work. By December 25th, Christmas Day of 2020, Michael Haywood was hospitalized with COVID. In the interim, his wife, Elizabeth, caught COVID while at home. And on February 2nd, 2021, Michael Haywood succumbed to COVID and died alone in the hospital. And we are here today because we have filed a Riverside County Superior Court lawsuit alleging that it is responsible for the wrongful death of Michael Haywood. And it is responsible because it violated the Fair Employment and Housing Act. You see, when an employee is disabled and has a disability and requests reasonable accommodations, that employer is obligated to provide those reasonable accommodations. And if by failing to provide those reasonable accommodations, it results in someone's death or injury, then the employer is liable for all the harm caused, including that wrongful death. And that is what we have alleged in the lawsuit that was submitted to the court on Friday and will be finalized for filing today. Who is Michael Haywood? Well, he was a long-term employee of the County of Riverside. He was the equipment parts supervisor for the flood control district of the County of Riverside. And he was a husband, a father of 4. Dustin is here with us today, and his siblings are also plaintiffs in this lawsuit. Michael Jr., Jason, and Alexandria. Michael Haywood had 11 grandchildren. He loved his grandchildren. He could be serious at times, but when it came to being with his grandkids and the family pets, he was a fun and light-hearted person. And he was a devoted husband to Elizabeth. Like so many, they dreamed of their golden years together, and these were dreams that were going to become reality for this family. They were planning on traveling the country, that American dream of living out in a van together or a camper and see the country together, and they had those plans. All of those plans were taken away when the county of Riverside denied common sense, reasonable accommodations that are required by the law, resulting in Michael Haywood's death. And the county lost a good man. He was a good employee. He was dedicated to his job. He's no longer performing those job duties. And remember, this was in December of 2020, when we knew the dangers of COVID, when we knew that people should be staying home. There were state executive orders that were telling people, stay home from work if you can. We knew that masking could prevent this disease. And right around the corner for individuals like Michael Haywood was the vaccine. Someone with his disabilities would have gotten that first dose of the vaccine by February of 2021. All the county had to do was give him a couple of months to perform most of his job duties at home, and he'd be with us today. But they arbitrarily refused to do that. By December of 2020, over 300,000 Americans had died from COVID. We knew better, and yet they were callously indifferent to his life and safety and the safety of those around him. It's not only Michael's death that we're here for. When Elizabeth got COVID, she now has long-form COVID. She has brain fog, nausea, debilitating headaches at times, confusion, and this whole ordeal has just devastated her and her family. And so we're also holding the county of Riverside accountable for causing Elizabeth the harm that they did, because she will suffer from COVID for years to come. You know, when someone dies, true justice is really elusive. We can't bring Michael Haywood back. He's missed Christmas, New Year's, birthdays. You cannot get true justice, because true justice would be bringing Michael Haywood back, and we can't achieve that. But we don't believe that he's the only one who has suffered from the county's deliberate indifference to his health and safety, and we ask that anyone who has information to come forward and assist the family in their quest for justice. And our goal is to hold the county of Riverside accountable so that other employees don't suffer similar fates. Perhaps this can save lives. And to make sure that individuals who are in those supervisory positions know you have people's lives in their hands. You don't play with them. You take the utmost in safety precautions, because it's not just the right thing to do. It's just not common sense to do. That should be enough, but it is the law. And we are determined to get accountability and some semblance of justice for this family. And we will do our utmost to do that. And I'd like to introduce to you first, Dustin is going to say a few words, Dustin Haywood, and then Elizabeth will as well.
So sometimes when you lose somebody you love, you look back on the memories you had with them, the experiences, you start thinking back of when you were a child and all those fond memories you had with them. And, when you do that, you need to, really look back and appreciate the time that you had with them and enjoy the time you have now with those people, because you don't know when that time will come that you will not have them any longer. My dad succumbed to COVID in February of 2020. He was from a military family. He grew up on a U.S. base in Germany. They moved to the States, and he had 4 children, as our Laura discussed, 11 grandchildren. I'm his middle child. He supported our family in numerous ways. He was a great father, a great friend. We had a lot of fun going out. He took care of the household. He did all the repairs. He took care of everybody's cars. He was always there for you. He wanted his family to be safe and be taken care of. And, you know, he didn't have a lot of time for himself. He was very busy taking care of others and taking care of responsibilities at work and dedicating his life to the county. He only took time off of work very seldomly. He fought cancer twice. And in my life, that was really the only time my dad took time off of work, when he was battling cancer. And up into his death, he was still texting employees while he had COVID, before he died, to make sure that they were safe. You know, me and my dad bonded through different projects. We brewed beer together. We went on vacations. We were travel companions. We debated, and we talked about retirement and how to plan for the future. You know, we talked frequently. We had her, whenever we had problems come up at our county organizations, because I worked in Northern California with the county as well too, we would troubleshoot and problem solve. We traveled to a lot of different places, and we had a lot of first-time experiences with one another. We hiked in Oceanside. We tried craft beer at Stone Brewery. We went ziplining in Lake Tahoe and went wine tasting in Temecula. We had plans to go to Germany to visit his family once COVID was dealt with in the world, and you know, we will not have that opportunity to do it with my father any longer. I am grateful for all the time that I had with my dad and the bonding that I was able to experience with him. I'm grateful for all the mentoring he's provided for me, making the man I am today. I'm grateful my dad was able to see me marry the love of my life, Natalie Hernandez. And we were planning on having children soon, but they will never be able to know the love of their grandfather. Not only did I lose a dad, I lost a friend, a mentor, an advisor. I won't be able to reach out to hear his perspective on issues and create memories with him. As somebody who worked for AMR locally as an EMT and in hospitals and various departments, I've witnessed a lot of loss in my life. And as of recent, I've worked on a COVID unit for a number of months. And COVID is something else. It is devastating to people experiencing this disease. People suffer alone, not being able to see family. They struggle to breathe for days and weeks on end before they succumb to this disease. And that is not the way to go. And it hurts me knowing that my dad had to go through that suffering. He was looking forward to retiring soon, slowing down and enjoying his golden years. All the hard work he has done, he will not be able to get that now. He was 2 months away from getting the vaccine. He requested accommodations, support from his management. He sought for local, state, and policies to be followed to keep him and his employees safe. And we wouldn't be here now if simple guidelines were just followed and my dad was protected. Our family wants justice against inaction. We want simple state and local policies to be followed. We want accommodation requests to be heard and supported so others like my dad do not have to suffer like he had to, and our family and other families as well. I know there are other families out there who are going through the same loss we are. And if we just follow simple guidelines and follow safety and the science, people would not need to die needlessly.
This is Elizabeth Haywood. She's very emotional and she's going to do her best.
Mike and I met through a friend when I was 21. He was 28. And we had the privilege to grow up together. When Mike died, I didn't just lose my life partner, my best friend. I lost my playmate, my protector, my travel companion, my lover, my mechanic, and my handyman, and so much more. He did everything. He was an amazing man. He even took care of me when I had my physical episodes related to my medical issues. I don't have that anymore. When we went out, we had somebody comment and ask him if he was from Europe, because every time we went out, he always offered his hand or his arm. And that's how we walked. That's the gentleman that he was. I miss walking with him and talking to him. I miss holding his hand and his arm. I miss taking care of each other in our quiet moments on our patio with breakfast and dinner in front of our fire pit. I miss our silly play, and I miss working on our home projects. He was around 2 months from being able to be vaccinated, and he wasn't given that chance. Before he got sick, he came home from work, often expressing frustration that he didn't feel that he had a voice, that he made requests for masks and social distancing and for people that can work from home to be able to work from home, him included. He had already been set up to work from home, and he proved that he could work efficiently. He asked for staggered schedules, and on days that he needed to be there for payroll or other things, that his office partner be off. He was not given any of those accommodations. He expressed his concern for his safety and the safety of the other people in the building. I know I can't have my husband back, but I can ask for change on behalf of him to seek a change in the system that failed him so that no other families have to suffer needless loss. My husband was admitted to the hospital on Christmas Day 2020, and the last thing he said to me was, "I don't want to go in and die alone." When we did voice chat when he was in there, the last thing he said to me on voice chat was that he's glad it was him that was there and not me. On February 2nd, my daughter and I spoke to the daughters, and we were there holding his hand when he died, when he left us. But I hope I can make him proud. And today I'm asking for change and for people to be heard when they're asking for accommodations. Because I believe if they had accommodated him, he'd be here with me today.
Our understanding, and again, we've filed this lawsuit today, so there'll be more coming out in discovery. But our understanding is that there were a couple of times when the county did allow him to work from home, but just for very brief periods of time. So when the surge came up in December again, he says, "I'm set up, let me do this now." And at that point in time, they denied that request. And that's what's so senseless, the arbitrary nature of that denial.
He just said to me he felt that he didn't have a voice. He just said to me, that's when he told me he felt that he didn't have a voice, that he asked for accommodations, not just for his safety, but he was worried because I was off work too, because I have health issues. And he was also concerned about the other people in the building. And he just said that he just doesn't have a voice, that they make the decisions. At one point he said to me, "I don't understand why some people are working from home and I can't." He was in a garage and he shared an office with another person. There was an office off of his office. And that's the person he requested if he came in for payroll, then that person should be working from home. There should be staggered schedules. That was the staggered schedules, some of that.
Well, we are hoping to achieve accountability so that the County of Riverside acknowledges its wrongdoing and changes its practices so that individuals who can work from home are allowed to do so to save lives in the future. And this family has been hurt gravely from this case, and we're looking to get them fairly compensated through our jury process. We believe in the jury system, and if necessary, intend to take this to a jury trial and let them decide what's fair and reasonable when someone's life is lost. I see that they had that in 2021 they have instituted some new safety protocols, but too late to save Michael Haywood. And you know, these protocols are crucial for companies and for employers like government entities, but the protocols are only as good as the people enforcing them, and you got to follow those protocols. The protocols were issued by the governor in the state of California at that time to allow people to work from home in December of 2020. So the protocols were there that they could have followed to save Michael Haywood's life, and they deliberately chose not to. We're not specifically aware of individuals who have suffered like this family, and we would encourage, if families know of people who have suffered like this, if people had their requests denied, and we'd encourage them to come forward, because that would assist the Haywood family, and they may very well have actions themselves that they could take legally to get justice.
I feel very strongly that if you're in a position that you're hearing these requests, regardless of your feelings or if you have feelings, that they need to be listened to. People need to be heard and they need to be followed up on. I honestly feel like my husband would be here today if somebody had listened to him. And if doing this can stop future somebody from going through what we went through, I know that would make Mike feel good. I do.